In 2024, Istanbul was ranked the second most visited city by the number of arrivals. 23 million visitors from all over the world traveled to Turkey's capital, which is home to world-famous sites such as the Grand Bazaar and the Hagia Sophia. Divided by the Bosphorus and spread out across 2 continents, Istanbul is the gateway from Europe to Asia and has lots to offer. From delicious food to bustling bazaars, I found a plethora of options in the city. So join me and discover together if Istanbul is really worth the hype. Welcome to Istanbul, biggest city in Turkey and by far the most popular tourist destination here. It's a huge city. I'm staying here in Kadiköy, a less touristy neighborhood. It's pretty trendy and also popular among expats. And I'd say we have a look around. The city is huge and I'm gonna show you a lot of things. The streets here are lined with souvenir shops, boutiques, and of course, lots and lots of restaurants and bars. Since I haven't had breakfast yet, I decided to get something to eat. I'm here at a local restaurant, breakfast restaurant, where they serve only the famous menemen. It's a Turkish breakfast food. I just ordered it and I'm gonna show you. Already got some bread here. Some Turkish tea is coming too. And let's wait for the food. Only a few minutes later, the food arrived. So let's take some bread. It's very creamy. It's like scrambled creamy eggs baked in a tomato sauce with onions and peppers, spices. And you get it with bread. Look at this. It's so hot, by the way. It's like made in this pot here. I think this is my favorite Turkish dish. I really enjoy this dish. After finishing my Turkish tea, I decided to continue exploring the area of Kadiköy. The streets are definitely getting more and more busy the closer we get to lunchtime. I think it's already 12. And I really like this area of the city. Look, you can buy all these dried fruits, nuts, plums, olives, meats, vegetables, fruits. They have everything here. Wow, look at these ones, like the pink ones. I have never seen pink olives. These look so interesting. The street dogs living here at the market definitely get a lot of food. They are all really chubby. And in this area here we only find jackets, shoes. We saw a lot of these markets here with clothes in Ankara. After checking out the busy streets of this market area, I headed down to the harbor, where you can overlook the Bosphorus. Down here I'm at the harbor, where you can take a boat over there to the other side, to the European side, and it's super nice. There's like a street musician playing music back there. He's really good. And there seems to be a lot of stuff going on down here at the harbor. There are a lot of people. The next day I wanted to try the ferry myself and take a boat over to the European side of Istanbul. And today the idea is to take a boat over the Bosphorus, which is right here separating the Asian side from the European side. And they have public transport ferries, so they just cost a couple of cents. It's really cheap, the public transportation here. You're not gonna pay more than €1 for one ride, I think. And yeah, the goal is to take the ferry. The ferry station is right over here. Now we have to find the right boat that brings us where we want to go, because the city is so big and there are so many different boats crossing the Bosphorus, but with different destinations on the other side. There are actually 3 different ferry operators here in Istanbul and multiple terminals, which can make finding the right ferry a bit tricky if you're not familiar with the harbor. But it didn't take me long to figure out where my ferry would go from, since the schedule is pretty straightforward. Our ferry arrived. Let's go in. My plan was to visit Istanbul's most famous shopping street called Istiklal Cadessi and the nearby Taksim Square. Let's see if we can find a window seat so we can look out the window as we cross the Bosphorus. Things are pretty nice here. From the public ferries I had a beautiful view of Istanbul. The boat just left the harbor and now we're crossing the Bosphorus and we're crossing from Asia to Europe on this small public ferry that costs less than $1. It's super efficient, the boat goes like every 30 minutes. This here in the back is the historic Hudapasa railway station, which used to be the city's busiest train station until 2010, when its interior was destroyed by a fire. I also spotted a huge oil tanker on the water in front of us, and in the back I could see the more than 1.5 kilometers long Bosphorus Bridge, the city's oldest bridge connecting Europe and Asia. The whole ferry ride took about 20 minutes, and soon I arrived on the other side of the Bosphorus. We have arrived and now let's check out what we find here on the European side of Istanbul. I want to visit Taksim Square. It's like a main square area here on this side. So let's go there. On my way to the square, I made some little friends. So here we have some chicken right in the city. And look at all these baby cats. Hello! Here we are at Taksim Square and guys, this was a lot of stairs getting from the harbor up here. It took like 10 minutes of walking up a hill, but like a real hill like this. But we're here and the sun is shining. Everywhere here in Istanbul I see these carts selling fried or baked chestnuts here. Can I get some of these?
Small, medium, big?
Small,
Okay,
very small.
100 grams.
100, yes, okay. So 100 grams is the smallest portion we can get.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I know these things are a thing in Germany sometimes in Christmas time, but I've actually never tried them. But they seem to be like super popular since you can buy them everywhere here on the streets. So let's try them. I think we remove the shell first. My god, I almost dropped it. Wow, this is like super rich. It almost has like some kind of sweet taste, like sweet potato. I don't know. The texture reminds me a little bit of potato that wasn't cooked for long enough. It's a little bit sweet. It's like super rich. I think this stuff will fill you up a lot actually. I mean, chestnuts are some kind of nut, so I suppose they have a lot of fat. It's an okay snack, but I wouldn't necessarily get it again, I think. But not bad for one time. Next, I wanted to check out Istiklal Cadessi shopping street, the most important shopping street in the whole city. This here feels like a very, very generic European shopping street to me. We have the streetcars, the old streetcars going through the street. We have lots of shops, lots of people, pedestrian area. I really like this area. Of course, I also saw some of the famous ice cream sellers here. Besides that, you can find so many different kinds of shops here, from popular fashion chains such as H&M to luxury brands as well as museums and art galleries. One thing I noticed here in Istanbul, there's like a super high police presence everywhere, higher than in any other city that I've visited so far here in Turkey. Behind there they're having the riot bus and then police people are patrolling with their machine guns and stuff. I saw this a couple of times now also in Kadiköy, the area where I'm staying. Every day there's so much police.
In Turkey, although the law permits people to assemble and hold demonstrations, there are significant practical restrictions. Human rights organizations have repeatedly criticized Turkey for using excessive force against demonstrators, particularly when the assemblies involve marginalized groups like LGBTQ individuals or women. My guess is that these restrictions are the reason for the high police presence in this area.
This here is one side street over, and it's so busy here with cafes and restaurants. It is really, really cute.
This area here is called Galata and is home to the famous Galatasaray Istanbul soccer club. In the center you can find the Galata Tower, which dates back to the 14th century. After wandering around these cute cobblestone streets, I decided to head back down to the harbor.
All the way over there, that's where we started before. This is the Asian side over there. And here we can just take the ferry back. It's so convenient and easy. This one here runs every 15 minutes from Kadikoy back to Kadiköy. It's super convenient crossing the Bosphorus from the Asian side to the European side and vice versa. Is really easy and really cheap. Much better to take a ferry than a taxi.
After enjoying the beautiful view over Istanbul for a bit, it was time for me to head back to my accommodation. The next day I decided to check out one of Istanbul's main tourist neighborhoods, the Fatih district on the European side. This is where most of the city's main attractions are located, such as the Hagia Sophia or the Grand Bazaar.
Over here we have the Egyptian bazaar, and it seems pretty popular. Let's have a look inside.
This bazaar is one of the largest bazaars in the city and probably the second most famous one after the Grand Bazaar.
The architecture is beautiful here. Look at this, all these spices. Oh, of course. You can get lots of evil eyes here everywhere, like here for example. And these symbols protect you from envy, from jealousy, like if someone else has an evil eye on you, these gonna protect you. Here, Turkish Delight. I've actually never tried Turkish Delight, but probably here Istanbul is the place to try it. You can get all kinds of sweets here. This is baklava. It's with pistachio and super sweet, super buttery. It's not for me, it's too much. But I love this super sweet, nutty desserts here. Just gonna check my bag because there's a lot of pickpocketers around. A lot of scammers too. And the goal is not to get scammed today.
The Egyptian Bazaar, also known as the Spice Bazaar, was established in 1660. It was an essential marketplace in Istanbul, primarily known for trading spices that were predominantly imported from Egypt. Over time, it evolved into a major commercial hub within the Ottoman Empire, renowned for its extensive variety of Asian spices and other goods. After the Egyptian Bazaar, I headed to the famous Grand Bazaar and one of the major tourist sites here in Istanbul.
I just entered the Grand Bazaar. Now we're here. Lots of people, and let's see.
This is one of the largest and oldest covered bazaars in the whole world. Today, it houses more than 4,000 shops and attracts up to 400,000 visitors each day.
That's a really cute cafe here behind me. But it's really important to be very careful when eating here and always confirm the price before, because like scams are very common here, and in the end you're gonna pay 50 euros for a sandwich.
In the end, I didn't spend much time in the Grand Bazaar as it was just not that special to me. And in general, everyone here tries to lure you into their shops to sell you stuff, and eventually it was too much for me. So I decided to leave this very touristy area of Istanbul. The next day, I decided to visit the Balat district.
Another very nice and sunny day in Istanbul. It's a bit cold though, but the weather is still super nice. And today I'm gonna check out another district here in the city. It's called Balat district, and it is popular because of its colorful houses and beautiful architecture. And I think I'm already right here. There's some cute little pedestrian streets, restaurants. It's pretty busy. So I'd say we have a look around. Here's all the freshly baked bread. Look at this. Wow, so much bread. People here in Turkey really like their bread. Usually you always get like a big bowl of bread with your food. So the cuisine is pretty bread heavy sometimes. And of course lots of olive oil. We've already seen a lot of olives from the harvests. Yeah, so olive oil is a very important part of the cuisine here.
Istanbul and Turkey in general were never really on top of my travel list, but I'm very happy I got the chance to see the country and experience this extremely friendly culture. However, I personally do think it's a bit overrated and there are just so many scammers around everywhere. But again, that's just my personal opinion.